All these montages of BYU-Utah stirring up the emotions, the feelings, getting ready for BYU and Utah coming up Saturday. Jeremy Jordan, Jason Shepard with you. Let's bring in the hero, the co-hero of Back to Harline. He's still open. Jonny Harline's on the program joining us now. Jonny, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? Doing good.
We're doing great and excited about the game on Saturday. First off, your thoughts on this team and what they've done so far leading up to one of the biggest BYU-Utah games BYU's ever played.
It's been awesome to see this team have the success that they're having, just not picked to do too well. And so, that's just, as a competitor, that's something that drives you when you get kind of underestimated and that you can do better than what people think. So that always was something for me that, anytime that, you feel like people are doubting you, I just love that and get in there and, prove them wrong, I guess.
Well, and it's been fun to watch this team have that attitude. And, when they were an underdog going to UCF and then they win that game. I mean, the final score was not, indicative of how much they dominated that game. But, and then the college football playoff comes out and, there's some questionable rankings there. I mean, it really does make a difference to these players about the respect part. But I guess if you don't get it, sometimes that can work in your favor because you do use it as motivation, right?
Yeah, and you got to watch out for being over-ranked, and having people telling you you're so great and everything like that. So, we don't want to pat them on the back too much before, all the business is taken care of. But they're doing great, and it's been awesome to watch so far. And obviously, we want that to continue, especially this weekend.
Feels like there's been some motivating factor, some chip on the shoulder, some edge that they played with every week. And at the beginning of the season, it was, 4.5 wins projection for this team. Nope, we're going to be better than that. Underdog constantly, even 2 weeks ago at UCF, like Shep mentioned. What? And now it's, not ranked high enough probably. So any edge you can get, which is good. And in 05, you guys went 6-6. You kind of turned a corner, got back to a bowl game. And then 06, you go, boom, 11-2. And you guys were motivated. It feels like in a similar fashion. Do you see any similarities in terms of like, hey, we can prove everybody wrong from that 06 team to this 2024 team?
When you start having things click for you and things are rolling, you're scoring points, defense is making plays, getting turnovers, that's a great feeling to be on a football team where that's going on and you start seeing success. And it's so frustrating when things are not going well because you can have a really good team and not end up with a great record, or at least you could have the potential there to have or you could have great players on a team and then just not end up with a great record. And it's so frustrating because there's so many moving parts. That's one of the most difficult things about being on a football team and probably as a coach even more. That's like trying to figure out like what are the things that we actually need to fix, because for the most part, you might just be a few tweaks away from, which like I feel like we were in going from 05 to 06. You might just be a couple little things away from a 500 record and then being a great team and getting ranked in the top 25, top 10, top 15, which if we kind of caught our stride couple games late. We lost 2 close games at the beginning of that season. Otherwise, but the way that we were playing by the end of the season, we were up there as far as I always felt like we could for sure play with anybody and beat them, possibly even some of those perennially top ranked teams.
Let's talk about this matchup specifically because it's really interesting because in a lot of respects, what BYU's doing is what most people thought Utah was going to be doing, and it's been flipped. And so you've got BYU coming in 8-0 and getting all the national attention in the college football playoff rankings. And then Utah right now on a losing streak. They're 4-4, and everyone's doubting them now. How do you sort of juxtapose where these two teams are right now and how something like that can play out in a game like this?
I think for this game, you kind of throw that out the window, all the context and everything and how you've been playing. Utah always plays BYU really well. They're very tough to beat, up in Salt Lake. It's going to be tough. Like, the BYU has got to take the challenge. The ranking, their win streak, like the record, like that is not going to win the game for you. That's not going to get anything done for you. Utah doesn't care. So like, you've got to continue to have a strong mental edge here and belief. It's like, what's going to win us this game is going in there, getting our execution, playing aggressively, taking it to them like you have been to the opponents all season, because it's not just going to get done, right? Like, you got to make it happen.
Cougar legend Jonny Harline joins the program today. Johnny, BYU hasn't won in Salt Lake since 2006, amazingly. So let's summon that 06 energy. Take us back to that entire drive where you complete a fourth down, and then, of course, you set up back to Harline. What do you remember the play call, and do you remember the mindset going into that last play?
Play call, I don't know, something like, it might have been Ace 59, something like that. I mean, when I think about that game, I was trying to kind of think about it in getting ready for talking to you guys, and just thinking a little bit more about, like, all right, what was 20, how old was I? 23, 22. What was 22-year-old Johnny thinking here, and what was he like? Because I get in an interview or, post game, and it's like, you kind of get maybe the watered down version a little bit. So I'm trying to think, like, what was it like as a player? And, man, when I think about that and going into that game, it's just preparing myself. It's like, when you go into the football game, and this is not unique to me necessarily, but it's like, you're preparing for that battle, right? And, it's that semi-violent situation. It's not like real war, obviously. I'm not going to overdo that, but it's like, you think of yourself as a warrior. You're going out there and you're just ready. Like, my mindset was very aggressive and competitive. I think, outside of football, I'm pretty laid back and easygoing and nice guy. Out on the field, it's like, that's not who I am. And I just couldn't. I love being in that competitive environment. You get to show what you've been working on, and it's like, I will destroy you if I can, and I don't care how it's going to make you feel or anything like that. Like, I love just playing with that mindset and just getting competitive, and so that's the mindset I take into the game. And in addition, though, with that, it's like, you don't just go crazy. Like, you stay calm, cool, collected. And so going into that last drive, which you asked me about, was that was my mindset. It's like, honestly, I've said before, and it's true. It's like, yeah, like, there's a part of my brain that's like, oh, man, well, we'll go see what happens, but it's not looking good. But you just kind of tune that out. And just, to me, I was like, all right, well, here's my job on this play. I'm going to run this route. If it comes to me, I'm ready for it. So getting down the field, there's that fourth down as well, that obviously had to make that play to get to the final one. And then getting that in there, I see finally on this play, as you see the video through, it's like, man, I'm wide open. And it's just like, yes, like, there's no question. I was never nervous about dropping it. Because, like I said, it's like, I'm not worried about, you're not in the same mindset as a fan, right? Like, when you're watching, you're like, oh my gosh. But as a player, it's like, I have control over what I'm doing, and we've got these guys beat. So it's like, I saw that ball coming through. I'm just like, go make the catch, and you've stuck it to them, right? Like, the whole stadium is going to be just devastated. And, like, as a competitor, that's what I love.
I think for the most part, and this is obviously certainly from the BYU side of things, most people, when they think of their favorite play from the rivalry, it's going to be that play. I'm curious, from your standpoint, at what point did you realize that your status had become legendary? That play and what you guys did in Salt Lake City was going to be talked about forever in terms of BYU fandom. Did that ever set in, or do you remember when that kind of set in the gravity of everything that had just happened?
Yeah. Like, as far as, like I said, in describing how it went in that game, to me, in some sense, it was just another catch, right? Like, it's coming through the air. I've caught a ball a million times. Boom, we're going to win the game. You know, it started to set in a little bit the next day. You know, they were replaying the game, and we were over at my in-laws' house, and so they had it on, and came down to the end of the game. And that's when I was more in like a fan mode, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's the first time I thought, like, oh my God, what if I did drop that? Like, that would have been so horrible. Like, oh my gosh, you know, legendary in the other way, you know. Yeah, like, but as time went on, within like a week or two, and it was very evident to me, just like the boost in just like the recognition of people recognizing, because, you know, I don't get recognized a ton. You have your helmet on. I wasn't like in a ton of pictures and stuff like that. So it's like just people recognizing me and like talking to me about that. It's like, it was like a tenfold increase in just how much people cared about that. And I was like, man, I've had like this, I think, a pretty great career. I've made a lot of catches and scored a lot of touchdowns, but it's like that one right there, it's like, no question, was like light years in a boost about just like, yeah, just people remembering it and remembering me as a player. It was pretty wild. And it was within like, you know, a few weeks, you know, and, you know, years later still talking about it. So
do you? I don't know how many jobs you've applied for since, you know, since getting into the real world, but is that the only thing that's on your resume? You write it down
on the LinkedIn.
Beck to Harline, and then there's like a URL link to the video on YouTube, and then you just sort of drop the mic and say, when do I start?
Well, you know, there's not, if you're not in sports, there's not a huge market for like being fast and being able to catch stuff. So that's usually not up there. So try to highlight, you know, teamwork, problem solving, stuff like that.
Yeah. That all plays into it. Well, Jonny, we appreciate the time. Hopefully BYU can come up with its first win in Salt Lake since Beck to Harline. If it takes that, we'll take that too. If it's a big win, we'll take that as well. Jonny, thanks for the time, man.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Jonny Harline, he can shred on guitar as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tiger Frog is the name of his band.
Yeah, and I guess he's doing some individual training as well. So he's helping some receivers and tight ends in Utah County and releasing some music. So the guy's very, very busy right now.